What's going on, Emo fam? Welcome back to Cry About It, the saddest podcast in all the land. Today, I'm joined by Kennedy and Mason from Ohio emo / post-hardcore band.
Yeah, you can do that.
We've been asking ourselves the same question for many years.
Yeah, we got like 10 different genre tags. It's cool.
Cool. And these guys are in the safest ledge. Say what's up to everybody real quick, Kennedy and Mason.
How's it going? I'm Kennedy. I'm the vocalist for Safest Ledge.
Hey, what's up? I'm Mason. I play guitar.
So real quick, today's interview is going to be a little bit different. I wanted to be upfront with you guys. I wasn't going to do this interview usually because I don't take cold call interviews. And that has nothing to do with like your band or your music or anything. I just find it super hard to do a podcast from something that like kind of comes out of nowhere to me. I want to note that there's a reason that I did do it and that attracted me to your band. So we're going to jump into that, and everybody, there's your little cliffhanger while I do my ad read real quick. Okay. So stick around, make sure you guys subscribe, follow whatever platform you're watching or listening to this on.
And leave a comment.
And absolutely leave a comment. Smash that like button or whatever the Paul brothers say, you know.
Buy a new Charizard card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Invest all your money in Pokemon cards because it worked in the 90s when everybody did that with baseball cards.
Right.
All right. Podcast video is brought to you by the Harrisburg Midtown Arts Center, Harrisburg's premier music venue. Be sure to check out harrisburgarts.com for a full list of upcoming shows and to purchase tickets. This weekend they have High Zombie and Webby. For those early 2000 hip-hop fans and EDM fans, make sure you go check them out. They just announced shows with Bowling for Soup, PB&B Rock, Seven Dust, Japanese Breakfast, and Seven Dust. I said Seven Dust twice. Theory of a Dead Man is supposed to be that last one, among like a million other shows. So you guys can go get tickets for those. They're all on sale. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't throw in that emo night. My emo night is coming back next Friday at the River Street Jazz Cafe in Wilkes-Barre, and there's still a couple tickets left. They're selling fast, but go and get them today. So now that we got the business part out of the way, let's jump into it with my new friends here. I want to give a little bit of history behind what I was talking to there and give you the reason why I picked you guys.
Gotcha.
Definitely.
So like I said, I like to be 100% honest, especially with bands like on your level. I think you're like an up-and-coming band. I think there's a lot clicking there, and I really liked it. So I chose to do this completely based on your branding and the cohesive image that you guys have before I even listen to the music.
Oh, dude, you're going to make me cry.
Sold, right?
Stop it.
Oh.
So I'm a marketing guy, right?
Gotcha.
That's what it was. And I'm also like a father, and I got all this stuff going on. So I have like a couple seconds usually when I'm like peeping some cold call emails, like basically what that was, which respect it, respect the hustle. Love that you're even doing it. 90% of bands don't, right? Usually I pass on most of those. Clicked on your Instagram. I was sold. I said, okay, luckily somebody passed this week. Let's jump on it. But I was going to come back to you guys anyway because I loved what I saw. That's why I picked these guys. So if you're an up-and-coming band or you're a band that's trying to figure out your image, things like that, pay attention to this episode because these guys are doing things right that you should learn from. Don't copy, but learn from. All right.
So
That's incredible.
what about the Instagram sold you on it? Was it our hashtag choice? Were you thinking, wow, they use medium traffic hashtags and low traffic hashtags? I watch a lot of YouTube marketing videos. Or do you just like the way we edit photos?
So I have a list.
Okay, let's hear it.
A bullet list that we're going to go through. All right. So now that I've been yammering forever, we'll actually get into the podcast here. And by the way, these guys have awesome music. So that's just an added bonus on top of everything else. Right. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but I just kind of want to talk about this branding image. And it's more important more now than ever in music for the reason I said you get a couple seconds of somebody's attention. If you don't sell them and be aesthetically pleasing, there's going to lose them right off the bat. Right. So to start, I love your logo.
Thank you. You know what's funny? We got the logo done by someone named Jordan Sigmund, who was in a band called The Standby, or they're still a band, that we used to be on management with. And when we were telling him what we want done, we were just like, make it look vintage, you know what I mean? Because like our last EP cycle, it was very much, emo, grunge, alternative type stuff, like to be blunt, like movements type rock. And we were like, we want to look like vintage, we want that kind of vibe. And he just totally nailed it. Love it.
I think that some people go overboard on logos, but also like you need a logo should be timeless, where you can update and make a couple changes to it, but that the essence stays the same. I think when you change logos a lot, you lose people, right?
Simplicity is key.
Exactly.
For sure.
100%. Like, think of Say Anything. Like, it's really just a sans serif
It's
font, you know, and
yeah,
they hit it,
literally,
right?
it's just
Been seeing it
yeah.
forever. But there's like a little style to it, which is the same thing you guys have, and you nailed it. And by the way, music being the smallest world in the world, or being such a small world, I know the guys from Standby fairly
Awesome.
well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Played a music festival I put on a bunch of times. So
Yeah.
So yeah, love that logo a lot. What was so I guess you told me the inspiration, but like it was kind of him, right? You guys just asked for him to go for it. There's no like deeper meaning behind it or anything, right?
The logo in particular, no, I just slipped
Yeah.
them $50 and I was like, hey, please make us stuff.
Awesome
Please make us look pretty.
Awesome investment, right? Reminds me a little bit of like 2000s, whatever we're calling it, mid-teens sad boy emo logos. Like
Exactly.
it puts like my mind goes to the Menzingers, something like that, right?
Okay.
Another
Yeah, I vibe with
iconic, another iconic logo that they got right the third time. The first two sucked.
that.
I grew up with those guys, so I could say that. So you guys do seem super focused as I scroll through your Instagram on Spotify playlisting, right?
Yes.
Getting on playlists, of course, but also curating your own.
Yes.
Yeah.
What made you guys take that route?
So to be blunt, we did this thing it was called like the Joey Sturgis like Spotify playlist challenge.
Mhm.
And before that, and this ties into our whole journey of really understanding how the modern music industry works. You know, we were hitting an impasse where we were like, we don't know how to get bigger. We're stuck in this rut, you know. We were like, you know, probably the first or second biggest local in our area. You know, we're playing you know, a bunch of shows for a bunch of really big touring bands like up in Cleveland and, you know, Columbus, wherever. And we hit this peak where we were like, okay, we're not growing. You know, we put out a single called Runaway. And, you know, I think we both agree we were really disappointed in how the reception was. But to be honest, it was just because we didn't know how to market ourselves or how normal music marketing works nowadays. So, you know, like I said, we did that Joey Sturgis Spotify playlist challenge. We learned how the whole playlist game works and everything. And, you know, it's really become a marketing tool, if anything, because, you know, it's cool. It gives us something to post every week, but, you know, it helps us, you know, network with other bands. And, you know, it's just like show swaps. You know, you put on shows like, you play this show, I'll play that show, you know, stuff like that. So it becomes like a playlist swap thing. Like, hey man, you want to play this? Cool. Throw our track on yours.
Not only that, but communication and networking is just absolutely key in any field that you're trying to do.
For sure.
Especially, you know, with music, with, you know, being able to connect with these other artists, you know, like we're finding new music for our own, you know, leisure as well, you know, on top of the marketing aspect. And I noticed that a lot of bands, you know, like it always seems like, you know, one part is lacking, and I feel like it's a lot of the balance between like, okay, driving this music and the passion versus this business mindset that is kind of hard to get into when you're just looking at like, well, I just love to make music. So
it's one of those things where nobody ever does anything for free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to haggle with people sometimes. And like, I understand that too. You know, as much as I love, you know, putting on, you know, as small as a platform as it be for other bands, you know, I need something in return half the time because, you know, I can't just dedicate my whole life to helping out other bands. You know, I have my own band to worry about. So that's what's been real cool about like Spotify playlisting and things like that, because you just network like crazy and, you know, it's a give and take, you swap.
So you guys, again, another step ahead of 90% of the bands, because I preach this a lot, especially to younger bands, right? Like you guys kind of get it. You've been around a little bit, but like sell out in theory, right? Like there's nothing wrong with making money from music. Like
For sure.
making a
Right.
living should be your goal, right? Why wouldn't you want to make a living off of what you love? And I think in rock music especially, there's this really sick like thought in people's heads, a lot of people, majority of music, be it fans or artists or something, like where like there's like it's dirty to be successful and make money, right?
Yeah.
Right. People
step
kind
into
of, like you said, they get the term sellout wrong because like I feel like when an artist, looking back on the times that I had used that term incorrectly, it was once they hit the mainstream, in a sense of like after they hit 1 million plays and were and started marketing to this larger, broader audience that isn't going to be as not always as interested in a niche genre. You know, you see so many bands like Bring the Horizon, for instance, that went from a deathcore band to a radio rock alternative band. And it's not the fact that, you know, that's not the direction we're heading, but it's like, those are things to keep in mind. It's like, if you want to take this serious and you want to actually go somewhere in the music industry, like you have to follow the trends tastefully. You know, you have to keep that sense of you in there. You have to keep your image. You have to keep your you know, the things that you focus on lyrically as well. But, you know, you just want to be able to cater to everybody.
Yep.
All at once. Is
For sure.
basically what I'm trying to get at.
And I definitely, I'm gonna shoot right out from the hip here and guess that you guys have done a Spotify trade. This is without listening to it, but you've done a Spotify playlist trade with the Magwas.
Oh, you know what?
Right?
You know what's funny? We can't announce it yet, but we're doing something cool with them in November.
Cool. So I know those guys from the same hometown.
Yeah.
They were on like my booking roster for a little while, till I kind of scaled everything back that I was doing. Great guys, love their music, awesome. I saw Brandon, who was like a social media fiend.
Yes, he is.
So as I was going through your Instagram, I also saw that he liked everything. And then I also tried before this to like kind of see who we have mutual friends, and I connected with Mason on Facebook, and I saw some of that stuff. So I was like, oh, these guys, as soon as I saw Spotify, those guys are killing the Spotify thing. So I was like, all right.
You know what's funny about Brandon? Because I just assume he makes all the Magwas's posts. But when they make a playlist post, you know, they have to tag every band that's on the playlist. And I started trying to structure our posts like that. And I was like, this takes so much time. It's ridiculous. And I was like, man, Brandon's really, it's like you said, he's a social media fiend, because like making a post like that takes like a half an hour almost.
Yeah, no, those guys are, and they're like they have like real people jobs too. Like they're not just like doing the like one of them's a lawyer. Like they're like in things where like I don't know where they get the time to even breathe, and they put out music constantly. And they're working with a somebody that I know pretty well, so they're doing a bunch of stuff right.
Absolutely. That was actually a point I wanted to bring up too. Is like I just got a new job as like a full-time machinist. Mason's a social worker. Joey's a full-time teacher. Like we also have very real schedules, so like we understand how difficult it can be to manage your time with, you know, the writing and then the business aspect. Like there's a lot to go on, and a lot of people, you know, they're not wrong for just looking at the music aspect. They're not at all, because that's what it's about. It's about the passion.
Yeah.
It's just to be seriously taken and put on a lot larger scale. There's certain business models that you have to have in the back of your head.
100%, completely agree. So now on to number 3 on my list. I love the dad hats. I love that. I love that as a sale item, right? Everybody does t-shirts. I think hats are worn and as visible as a t-shirt, right? I always tell everybody t-shirts are the best thing you could do.
Well, while we're on the topic, when it comes to merch, thank you for saying that. You know, we've been going through, you know, playing shows for how many years and figuring out what sells and what doesn't and what's a waste of money. I can tell you now, we will never print CDs again. There is no point. You know what? We printed like 50 for the Space Between Words, which, you know, we thought we were going to have a full tour for. It didn't happen, COVID, whatever. But, you know, even then I was like, even if we sell all of these, we're not even making that much money off of them. And, you know, they sit at the table half the time, and then one out of every like 10 people that buy merch ends up actually wanting the CD, which I appreciate the people that buy them, but they're just a waste of money at this point.
We normally end up just kind of like giving them away as time goes on, you know?
Yeah, I suggest to people cassettes or vinyl. You can upcharge, and people buy them, and they're probably never even going to listen to them. 90% of the people, they're buying it as a collector's item.
They're
something to take away from you, right? So
absolutely, you're triggering that niche part of your audience. You know?
Exactly. So that I always tell people, CDs dead right now. Nobody's collecting CDs. In 20 years, when CDs don't exist again, start selling them, right?
Yeah.
Like, nobody has a cassette player. No 18, 16-year-old kid has a cassette player unless
they're
like
taking
really
them out of cars even.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't think they've been in there for a while, right? So love the dad hats. Question. So you went with like a monogram on it, right? Like of the thing, and like maybe like a little, is that barbed wire or something behind it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what made you go that route as opposed to going with your logo? Again, because I love your logo and I wanted to buy a hat with it on it.
I appreciate that. Well, we might reprint them that way. But so a year ago we had those hats, the same exact hats, same colors and everything with the logo, and
Okay.
they sold really well. They sold out. But something we've been trying to do because obviously when we're in a niche genre, let's be blunt with ourselves. Post-hardcore, emo, whatever. We're still trying to dominate our niche, but we still have fans that buy merch every time we put out a merch drop. So if we kept putting out the same merch, that's a good amount of people that buy merch that probably won't buy it because we're just putting out the same hat every time. So we're just trying to fluctuate the designs. We had one
100%.
T-shirt, how Man Overboard has that like machine gun shirt that like
Defend pop punk, yeah.
yeah, the one
Yep.
they're famous for. They obviously they're the type of band where they're big enough, they could put out that shirt in a different color, once every 3 months and it'll sell every single time. And we had a shirt, obviously on a smaller scale. We're not delusional. We had one shirt. It was the Anime Eyes shirt that sold like hotcakes.
How many times did we reprint that?
We reprinted it
4 times.
3 times.
3 times.
And I remember one show, I think it was in New York, we sold like 10 of them. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, I kept saying, I was like, let's keep reprinting it. Let's keep reprinting it because it kept making us money. But everybody talked me out of it because we were like, once COVID happened, we're not touring. We're like, okay, we're running out of people to sell that shirt to. So, if we were like full-time touring, then, we'd go back on that because we know that one sells like crazy. But, we're trying to take care of the fans that have stuck with us and keep buying merch. So we just got to keep fluctuating designs.
No, love it. Yeah, I wasn't aware of the other hat, but I was like that logo's like made for a hat, right? I think it's just like it's like perfect for there. So I do love that, and also I love the campaign that you're doing with the hats, right? So I didn't scroll all the way down your Instagram feed, but I saw at least 3 or 4 of like the same girl with the right aesthetic, blue hair, wearing the hat, the ad, like nailed it, right? Especially for the exact niche that you guys are doing. Like you guys might want to think about like marketing careers as well, because like that campaign was great, right?
No, I get you, but you're
it.
right though. It's like you put somebody that looks alternative, because like who listens to this kind of music? Alternative kids, you know what I mean?
No, 100%. No, so I just want to commend you again on that. So that's one of the other reasons I chose to do this interview. Loved it. And then something maybe other people have done it, in marketing, they say everybody steals and everybody lies as far as like when you're creating stuff. However, the track breakdown with the lyrics on your Instagram where like you would like release a track and the lyrics, and I love that. I've never seen it before. Right. So
thank you. I'll be honest.
That was just kind of an idea we came up with because we haven't really released lyrics too often. I don't know. That was kind of like the first that we were like, okay, let's release the lyrics, but let's not do it in a traditional way. And I was like, what if we just featured it like, I don't know, maybe every other day or like once a week or something like that, just to keep content rolling,
Yeah, one thing we've really become focused on, and like I'll be honest, we've strayed off of it a lot sometimes too, because to be honest, man, like it's like we were all saying, we all work jobs. It gets hard sometimes. Once we get back in the release cycle, it's it kicks back up again. But we've been stressing like, oh God, we got to be like content kings, because even something as much as an Instagram post, it just keeps people engaged. Me and him talk about this all the time. We were really big fans of like Sleeping with Sirens back in like 2011 through 2014. And they had those like
the real funny guys
videos.
Like those, that reeled me into the band.
It made me like that band way more. And in reality, maybe those videos weren't very good, but like once you get that personality,
you get the personality of the characters that you're already, becoming obsessed with musically, and then you're like, oh my God, they seem like cool guys outside of the music as well.
Yeah. Why do people like storytime YouTubers per se? Because like you see a lot of their personality come out in that type of content. And why do people like podcasts even? Because you feel like you're listening to something where you could just jump in the conversation and you get somebody's personality real easily off of that. So we've just been wanting to do things like that where, I mean, the lyric posts aren't exactly that, but you get it, content in general, where people get our personality, because I think that's where people really connect with bands. I love good music, don't get me wrong, but like Sleeping with Sirens, I liked them a lot more because I thought they were funny guys and I liked watching their content.
Right. So I'm I'm 35, so I'm not an emo kid, but like that's what I came up, right? Like I came up in that emo music, punk rock scene. Lyrics to me are number one, right? Like I could take a mediocre musical song and then lyrics number one. So like having somebody feature their lyrics, I absolutely love. And I think like, so your Facebook description, you know, has you as emo / post hardcore. You're leaning into that a little bit. I think in that genre specifically, people look for lyrics. So I thought that was really like you guys understanding your lane and going with it. And I thought that was really cool from a marketing standpoint, right? Like, you know, you don't have like as much like a heavy metal fans, not really is deep into the lyrics, right? Like it's more about the music and everything like that. So I thought you guys understood your audience and took advantage of it there.
Well,
so I really,
I'm glad you say that, because you remember like Tumblr era 2014, before everybody totally abandoned that website, when those graphics of like the Story So Far lyrics or Real Fens lyrics or Knuckle, it was really big with pop punk bands, where it was always like a picture of like a forest or something like that, and then like in a nice script font like a Story So Far lyric, you know, like that's it's funny because a lot of that was fan made, but it did so much for those bands. It was ridiculous.
huge. The Wonder Years, I think, are like the biggest example.
Yeah, exactly. I came out swinging from a South Philly basement. How many times have you seen that on a graphic?
I mean, like as just somebody's Facebook status as anything, right? Like that's, I think that Tumblr made that a thing. I agree. I hope it's kind of making a little bit of a comeback, but more with businesses. So I don't know, it'd be interesting to see. It's really good still in SEO. So like if you guys are ever looking for something, like, you know, you want something to pop in Google, repost your YouTube video on Tumblr, even if you're not actively using your Tumblr, and then just hashtag it out, keyword it out, and like it'll show up better in Google searches.
We're gonna try that. Thank you.
Little back end trick for you there.
Gotcha.
For everybody listening, right? All right. So number 5, I saw you guys did an interview with Scott Wallman for Substream.
Yes.
First of all, congratulations on Substream. That's awesome.
Scott is an awesome guy. Scott is very animated, and I say that in the nicest way. He is really fun to talk to. I got to give him that.
So that was going to be my next question. Like, what's your tie-in with Scott? Because having him in your corner, I've known Scott for years. Really good guy to have in your corner, or, you know,
our old manager. Our old manager was friends with him, so that's pretty much just how the connect happened. And then I did that article with him. It was like 10 best bands out of Ohio. And then like the way he set up the narrative structure, I got to give it to Scott. He's a fantastic writer. Because the way he set up the narrative structure, I was like, this is like really interesting. Like it's really, you know, it's super quirky, and it, you know, it's not just your usual top 10 list. You know what I mean? It's not like a Mojo top 10 video, you know?
Loved it. So now I'm like, my head's spinning here, and I legitimately have no idea, right? Like this is me taking a shot.
Gotcha.
In the complete dark. Was your old manager Eric?
No, it was not.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like Magwas, Scott, Standby, and Eric from Word is Bond. Like I know he has connections to all of that. So that's
no, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We can move on from that. Sorry.
No, you're fine, man.
So I want to move into your music a little bit, right?
Okay.
And I'm gonna give you like the most generic question in all of music, but
we do it for the money.
All of music journalism. But this, I think, is such an important question for podcasts. Like, whereas like written word, everything like that, it's whatever. It's just it's the 16-year-old music journalist wannabes question. I'm gonna throw it at you. I gotta know your influences, right? So this is how, like, when people are listening to this podcast, like they decide if they like you, because I can't play your music because I'll get nailed on YouTube, right? So tell them like for fans of.
See, this is an interesting question.
Depends what era we're
It depends what era. So it's no secret. You know, I told you we haven't announced it yet, and we're not going to announce it till July 2nd. But you know, if you got this far in the podcast, you deserve to know.
For fans of Loathe, Deftones,
holding absence, movements, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the new direction. At least for the one.
If you had to like generalize it, like I would say, like we could say like holding absence, movements, the plot new, stuff like that. But it's really ranged for a long time. Like our last EP, The Space Between Words, I would say it was very much like movements, turnover, citizen type stuff. Yeah, but we 100%. have this problem where we just won't we are never going to write the same record twice.
Yeah, no.
Because it just gets us bored. I mean, the sound we have now that people will see super soon, we might not even have that a year from now. We might move on to something else. This is just kind of what we do. We just kind of we make gradual changes every time we put out a new record.
No, I respect that.
Thank you.
Sorry. And then I definitely, everything you said, I've heard. Today I just had you guys on the background while I was at work all day, like just listening through everything. So Citizen, I think, is a really good description for that album that you cited there. So one comment on this, right? And it's just like my little critique of the email that I got, right?
Gotcha.
You guys got me, so it did the purpose. However, I almost so I just breezed it at first, right? And your eyes catch things that they're familiar with. Yeah. I caught Stray from the Path as like the word that I took away from your email the first time I read it. Yeah. And I almost just completely passed because I was like, I'm not interested in talking to a band that sounds like Stray from the Path. And my fans aren't not fan. I don't have fans. My listeners aren't interested in listening to me interview a band that's like Stray from the Path.
I get you. It's different niche.
So, but I listened to everything and I heard no Stray from the Path in anything that I listened to, right? But then I went back and I read it. It was like played with Stray from the Path, right? Like performed with.
Yeah.
For your media stuff, ditch that. Okay. I don't. If you don't like, that's just my little tweak. Because then when I went down and I saw your like sounds like, I was like, I'm in. Like this is like the music that like I'm trying to put out. No,
that's a very good.
Or like if depending on who you're reaching out to, like if Stray from the Path would appeal to that, then hit them with it. But like and now I like Stray from the Path. I think the song they put out on the Anti-Trump album's like the best song on that album. The You Just Got Knocked the Fuck Out one. Yeah. I can curse on my own podcast, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. Negative and Violence, my favorite song by them.
And those guys are like they're like my homies from back when I owned a venue. Like I love them.
Yeah.
But I was just like, what I'm doing in this vein, Straight from the Path, kind of like I legitimately like first glance, like the only word I saw was Straight from the Path. I was like, pass. And then I was like, I went back and read it and I was like, wait, no. Played with. Okay, cool. Anybody can play with.
You know what's funny about that is because for like our entire existence, we have played with so many heavy bands and we've never really been a heavy band. Like our first EP, we had a lot of screaming on it and like a little spoken word back then. But, we just have always been billed with heavy bands to the point where like it really doesn't phase us at this point. We for the record, like Straight from the Path was an awesome show to play. Yeah. They were very awesome people. We played with Silent Planet twice. We played with
Kubla Khan was that
Kubla Khan. We played with Kubla Khan.
Oh, nice.
We just happened to, a lot of heavy shows come through Cleveland and Youngstown.
With Secrets too.
Yeah, Secrets. Yeah. Like Youngstown is in between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and we've more so dominated the Cleveland market as opposed to Pittsburgh, and so many heavy shows come through there. And honestly, sometimes I'm not going to play. I'm not going to not play a show because it's heavy. I'm going to play because I think we apply to a various different amounts of niches. Obviously right now we stick more heavily on one niche than the other, but I think heavy music fans can appreciate what we have going on. Because nobody 100%. Just listens to heavy music.
Agreed. And I was just going to say that I think I used to manage a band called I Am Legend back in the early 2000s.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Those guys, Victory Records stuff they did and a lot of tours and everything. But they toured, like they were like basically like Moeen and like a little heavier Say Anything, I guess. But like they toured with like Endwell, right? Like, and that was the thing. And that's what I always said to them. Like we would get these tour offers like that they, at the time, like there was just so much music touring that we were taking whatever we could get. And I would say to them, like, listen, like basically your exact word, not everybody can listen to Endwell all day, every day, right? They're going to listen to other stuff. And you guys fit that vein. So I definitely respect that. And so you guys emailed me a video for your new single, What Have You Done? That's out on July 23rd. And
the single's out July 16th.
July 16th.
The video will come the 23rd.
Right, the video. Yeah, the video comes out July 23rd.
We haven't even announced it yet, but honestly, if you got this far in the No, it's fine. If you got this far in the pod, you deserve to know. So, yeah.
Well, tell if you guys want me to clip that after, just let me know. But
no, don't worry about it.
Tell everybody a little bit about that song, and then I'll give you my vibe on it.
We fell in love with Loathe.
So our our secret song that we have coming very soon. Yeah, you know what's funny? It's like I said, we can't write the same record twice, and you know, we had this idea, and it sounds really, really like simple, but we had this idea. We were like, let's buy a baritone guitar. I bought a baritone guitar, and we were like, let's just try things a little lower. You know what I mean? And not necessarily heavier, but a little lower. And then it just evolved into the sound. It evolved into, you know, it's like heavy, but it's not heavy at the same time. You know, the vocals are very like soothing, things like that. We're trying a lot of new things on it. There's like no guitar leads on it. It's
There's no
like
screaming in it.
there's no screaming on either. Like it's just like, you know, guitar, bass, drums, vocals, and then like synth on top of it. So, you know, we're excited about it because we just love trying new things, and we think like, I don't know, we think it's a good song. And obviously like our drummer Joey you know, wrote most of the lyrics, and it's something super personally close to him, so you know, it's a very momentum thing for us, you know. And I don't know, man, we love putting out music, and we can't seem to break away from this, no matter how bad it beats us down sometimes. You know, it's just our thing, and we're just gonna keep doing it as long as it's fun.
Love the song, love the video. I thought it was great. I wrote down Loathe as one of the bands that I thought had some influence in there too.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I listened to that song probably like 10 times today, right?
Awesome.
Playing in the background, trying to get prepared for this. Found it. I thought it was atmospheric, ambient. Really enjoyed that. And I wrote down just like as a note, and it could be the dumbest thing I ever say, or you know, in my head it sounds like super awesome and a great quote, a great pull quote. So like you guys, that song is what I wish Title Fight sounded like.
Interesting.
Wow.
That's an interesting take.
So I've always wanted to like Title Fight, and I just can't. Like, I buy every album, they're like hometown guys, but I just can't get into it. I've never been able to, but I've listened to it all a bunch of times. I play it at emo night, everything. Never been able to get into it. And as I was listening to that, I was just like, I hear like the influences on both bands from the same thing. And I'm talking like not like Title Fight's early hardcore stuff, like more they're like when they went a little shoegaze and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is what I wish that sounded like. And it just like they never get there for me. So if you're a fan of Title Fight, and wish like that their music, like sometimes to me, like, and I like all respect in the world to those guys. Like, this is always such a hard conversation for me, because I'm like, I feel like they're purposely trying to sound like they don't know how to play their instruments in some songs, and it like drives me nuts. And I know it's purposeful, and it's just like just a little too much like crazy going on in some stuff.
I understand the perspective where stands of Title Fight and Hyperview and all that. So like, what I know I'm gonna like respectfully disagree, but I understand where you're coming from.
Right. And no, everybody like, and that's just like in my head, like, and I can't connect those dots. And I'm talking, I've been seeing Title Fight play since they were like 11 years old.
Yeah.
Judging Battle of the Bands that they were in and stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I've just never been able to like I like Floral Green. Was that the album? Floral.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I like that one the best, right? And everybody from Northeast PA that's listening to this right now is like turning it off and pissed at me. But you know, I'll go take my picture in front of the mural in Kingston and everything. But
you seemed like you guys have a very interesting music scene. It is very different from ours. That's what I will say.
It's I always tell people it's so Scranton Wilkes-Barre, right? That's like the market.
We're Breaking Benjamin's from.
Breaking Benjamin, yep. And it's 10 miles between Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, but it's the longest 10 miles in the world, right?
Is it just like a bunch of farmland? Have you been to Indiana?
No. I just mean like there's just so much there, right? Like there's a ton there. Like it's a city, there's towns each.
Yeah.
But like in that stretch there, you have Breaking Benjamin, you have Title Fight, you have the Menzingers, you have Tiger's Jaw. And then there's like the lesser stuff that can't like, well, I guess if you're a hardcore fan, then there's also Strength for a Reason, Cold World, Wisdom in Chains, Dead End Path, right? Like all that's there. And then like I think that influenced like a lot of other stuff that came up in the early 2000s too, like your Koji, you know, acoustic punk stuff and all that. But yeah, it was interesting, especially when I I graduated high school like right when Breaking Benjamin was popping, right?
Yeah.
And like great guys, love, the like Diary or not Diary of Jane. Like by that time I was in like the
That's a
like
pop.
I'm over that, but like
Yeah.
Polyamorous is like forever for me. That's like my senior year of high
That
school.
is a great
Star,
track.
right? And like that was like for me that was like my some of my early heavy music, non-punk rock, right? So
Yes.
into it. But yeah, Title Fight and all those guys coming up, and it was an interesting scene to come up in. And then like there's a ton of bands that got signed out of there because like in like the early 2000 teens or whatever we're calling them, everybody wanted a Scranton band. So a ton of bands got signed and nothing ever happened. But like everybody was kind of getting grabbed there. It was like Seattle for a minute.
So
Wow.
can I compare the contrast
Mm-hmm.
to ours? So that's a really interesting perspective because we're in a small city, and I'm sure Scranton and Wilkes-Barre aren't very big either compared to like Philly, obviously. But we're in between two big markets, and we're a small city. And as it relates to like emo and post-hardcore and metal and things like that, there's really never been much of it at all. There was another band in our town, Alteris, that was like they were signed to Revival Records. They were like the bigger metal type band. But other than that, it's really just been us in our niche and like maybe a couple other smaller bands, which has always been interesting for us because like, everyone always says you want to dominate your market and everything like that, but the market's just kind of different for us.
Right.
It's always been like an indie rock, like those type of bands.
It's mainly filled with like bar bands around
Yeah,
here.
one of those type things, and those are cool bands. I'm not trashing them out or anything. I like a lot of those bands, but there's never really been anything that sounded like us. So it's always been different for us, and I think that's why, we get real jacked up when we go to like Cleveland or Buffalo or Indiana, and like people vibe with us a lot because we're just always used to being like the musical outsiders of our scene.
Right.
So like I feel like, geez, I don't know where I was taking this point.
Just finding communities like that is really interesting to us because of us growing up with the lack of communities like that.
Right.
Yeah, there just hasn't been a lot of emo or post-hardcore music here. So when we go to scenes where there is, it's like night and day for us. It's like, oh wow, this is really cool.
So you say you guys are like between Pittsburgh and
Cleveland.
And Cleveland.
From where we are right now, it is exactly an hour and a half to Cleveland or an hour and a half to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, tell Drusky out there in Pittsburgh to start putting you on some shows.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Brian, help these guys out. But yeah, I was gonna ask. I for some reason I heard the name before when I was looking through the Facebook. I just assumed it was like super close to Cleveland. But that's interesting that you're right smack dab in the middle there. And that's interesting juxtaposition like that. So I knew like for me, Cleveland was like pop punk for a while, right? Like that was like I knew I knew the Driver's Side Impact guys and all of that like coming out of there, and like I knew that Victory like basically like hung out in Cleveland for a while looking for bands. So it's interesting.
That's funny because it seems like it's mostly
metal.
It seems like it's mostly metal and hardcore now. I which makes sense because they have a venue, the Foundry, that's like it's not like specifically a metal venue, but it's mostly mostly metal bands play there, and I guess you just are your environment,
100% you are. I saw that for a long time around us, even up in Scranton. Like I owned a venue and we definitely catered to like scene stuff, but like we would do like just to pay the bills. Like I would have like Trapped and Rev Theory and all that stuff, right? Like, cause that would bring in the radio people.
Of course.
But then it was like Newfound Glory, Say Anything, like all that stuff was like the shows I wanted to do. And then as you watch the bands that you bring in for a couple years, the local kids are what they're exposed to is what they kind of, when they start bands, kids that are starting bands,
of course,
are gonna gravitate to that stuff. So that's definitely interesting. I never thought of it that way.
That's funny you say that too, because like we were saying, like we believe now like Cleveland's more of a metal town, but like under it, Akron is like they've always had a big DIY scene there. So like the kind of bands you get in DIY scenes, like Crust.
You brought up a good point though about venues. Sorry to interrupt you, but you brought up a very good point about venues, where because you said that the venues that you create in your hometown, and even if we created a venue here, like what West Side Bowl doing right now. West Side Bowl has a very diverse audience, so like
Yeah.
we're just gonna see more rock bands come up around here.
Yeah.
But if we had something that was more catered towards the scene, like what Cleveland had with like Peabody's and the Foundry,
We'd have way more hardcore.
you know, we would have way more like alternative hardcore kids here. That's basically what it comes down to, is like everyone's used to having that once a year big mainstream artists come to the arena downtown, but other than that it's just used for hockey. So so it's like,
you know what's funny? We have a show in September, and in the arena downtown, Judas Priest is playing the same night as us.
Oh wow!
So we're
Okay.
competing with Judas Priest tonight.
I would like a
See who
follow.
draws more.
I would like a follow up to update our audience on how that goes.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys,
Okay.
I want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
And you're always welcome back. I tell everybody, you know, as long as the interview goes. I've only had one interview where the person wasn't welcome back. So you guys are always welcome back. Next time you have something going on, you know, you're now part of the Cry About It family, and
Right,
you know, we'll have you back anytime.
Cool.
Thanks,
Thank you, man.
Thanks
We
for
really
having us.
appreciate you having us on, and we're really glad you liked our Instagram.